Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the recap portion of our show. I'm David Sponheim, and this is Conspiracy Monday. We are sometimes overloaded with things going on in our memory bank, and we are forced to restart our computer. And this is exactly what happens sort of toward the end of our show. So we have 1 hour to recap what we were talking about earlier. For some of you, this might be a good chance to kind of follow up on simple things that were happening today. Yeah, they've got new fears of an ISIS leader in a new video, which I believe is part of an attempt to foment the fear of terror to justify military buildup of weapons. That's typically right out of the same playbook of the Illuminati that's been going on since 9/11. Tomorrow we'll be talking about 9/11. We've got Truth Tuesday coming up. Joe Biden is kicking off his run for blue collar America, but everyone's still dogged by that the thought of him touching children. You know, it may weigh heavily on his run for the leadership position among 24 other Democrats. And let's see, we got AG Rod Rosenstein, a man who virtually was a wallflower most of the time, has now become a man who will be retiring from being a wallflower, amounting to nothing in terms of his performance as a deputy AG, while Jeff Sessions recused himself. And we still are pressed with that concern about Bill Barr and why he's been allowed to declare there's no obstruction when he wrote a letter to Rod Rosenstein many months before the investigation saying we shouldn't investigate obstruction. So Bill Barr is essentially too subjective. He should recuse himself, much like Jeff Sessions did. And the big news today, this is the guy that allegedly is a major terrorist figure. That's not the big news. The big news is Larry King had a near heart attack. Yeah. Larry King, of Larry King Live. Yeah, he nearly kicked the bucket today. Luckily, he got to a doctor and had angioplasty, and he's doing okay. The end result we'll find out later, but he insists he didn't have a heart attack, though he did have proteins in his blood that indicated a mild heart attack. Yeah. And I'm sure he'll get a new hairdo once this is all over, kind of like this one. Yeah, that's a nice one. Like it. I think we've got Biden saying that Trump abused his office, ignored most Americans. No kidding, yeah. How is that any different than Barack Obama? And what Joe did when he created Obamacare and said this is one big effing deal. When it cost us, as a nation, $350 billion more per year, and we're not getting any better health care, I assure you. So yeah, Biden, another irrelevant corporatocracy puppet, Trump puppet of the corporatocracy. We're still stuck with the two parties doing nothing and accomplishing nothing, which is par for the course. I'm sure that the world will be better off as a result of a better, newer direction in America. I know everyone around the world's looking for a third party to do well. I know I am. But we're still struggling with mainstream media censorship in a country that claims to be free and democratic. There's something very wrong with what's going on with Donald. This just came in on Melania's birthday. Last weekend we talked about, the possibility that Melania is being abused again. This is a photo of photographers looking away from Melania at Donald Trump. It was taken many months ago, but is what Donald Trump tweeted to his wife. And it reads, "Happy birthday, at FLOTUS." And it shows her all alone. It was taken a long time ago. I don't have the original photograph of when it was taken, but yeah, it has photographers looking away from her onto Trump. And it kind of frames everything in the eyes of Donald Trump. She doesn't matter. She doesn't matter. And it shows why Donald Trump hasn't apologized to her for committing adultery allegedly with Stormy Daniels, who he paid and admitted to paying $130,000 to Michael Cohen to pay off Stormy Daniels, and $150,000 to pay off a woman who is a former Playboy model, Karen McDougal, who claimed that he had an 8-month relationship with her. So adultery twice while Melania was caring for Barron in the early days, and Trump refuses to apologize for this. Maybe that's the source of the argument that's ensued about a week ago between Donald Trump and Melania at Mar-a-Lago. People saw them yelling, big time at each other. No one had cameras, of course, but they saw him. Woodstock 50 canceled by its investors. No kidding. Wow. I'm shocked. Here I was planning on going there. Oh, this is really disappointing. Woodstock trying to make a comeback. Woodstock 3. Woodstock 50, a wide-ranging festival that many hoped would bring the spirit of '69 to a new generation this August, has been canceled. Tim O'Hearn, the administrator for Schuyler County, New York, where the event was to take place, confirmed the cancellation to NPR. He said he'd been contacted by Dentsu Aegis Network, which had been bankrolling the planned festival. The festival, which was supposed to run August 16th to the 18th in Watkins Glen, New York, a different location from its namesake event, boasts an impressive lineup that was meant to bridge multiple generations and musical genres, from Santana, David Crosby, John Fogerty, to Jay-Z, Chance the Rapper, and Miley Cyrus. One of the primary organizers of Woodstock 50, promoter Michael Lang, was also co-founder of the original Woodstock event in '69. Okay, it read, despite our tremendous investment in time, effort, and commitment, we don't believe the production of the festival can be executed as an event worthy of the Woodstock brand name, while also ensuring health and safety of the artists, partners, and attendees. They have decided to cancel the festival. They believe this is a prudent decision for all parties involved. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean we can't have our own Woodstock Festival right here, right now. Okay? Or maybe this summer. What do you say? We all gather together in our own backyards and have Woodstock. Well, not really the same, is it? But we don't have the big players like Jim Morrison. We don't have him, no. We could do our own, I was thinking of something kind of like, it'd be kind of an interesting concept, but you know how they do Burning Man down in the desert, and it's just such a crap hole with all the dust, and now they have rich people that rent entire sectors and put on lavish festivals within the festival just for rich people. And yeah, wouldn't it be better to have just like another kind of concert instead of Burning Man? How about Atomic Man? And put it out there in the middle of nowhere near the Hannaford nuclear waste dump. There's got to be some open land out there we could just, have a field day, literally. Kind of raise awareness for Hannaford and the cleanup that needs to happen in the next 60 years, otherwise we'll all perish. That kind of raise awareness, Maybe I'd be the only guy out there at Atomic Man. Maybe I should go out there myself and do it and take a photograph of myself just to start the ball rolling for next year. Yeah, and I'll just play air guitar to Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. Purple haze out through my brain. Something like that. The guy that discovered me discovered Jimi Hendrix. I don't know if you realize that. Yeah. My old employer, he used to brag about how he discovered Jimi Hendrix. He really did. I mean, he's the guy that saw him out there and played his guitar and said, man, you got talent. And then he put him on the radio and then started his whole career. It was amazing. Well, I know the best restaurants are in Italy. We know that. But I don't trust the back of the restaurant where they clean up. I'm thinking, pestilence, maggots, old world maggots, the ones that have replicated and had multiple generations of maggots. Now they look different. Mutated maggots. Something tells me it's not going to be as fresh as if I just went to a buffet in my own area, But thank you for offering. It was very kind of you. No disrespect to you or the Pope, the papal ministry. Chaz Chandler, the man who discovered Jimi Hendrix. Now, see, this is where this gets very confusing because I have it on absolute authority that the guy who discovered me discovered Jimi Hendrix. There's a lot of people that claim they discovered Jimi Hendrix. He discovered him in a New York club, could face the change of music forever, Chaz Chandler's death, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe it. No. Anyway, I'm not going to name the name of the guy who said he discovered Jimi Hendrix because it would, in some way, put him on the spot, and I don't want to put him on the spot. After all, he was a big enough jerk in my life. I don't want to put him on the spot anymore. We could chat on Skype, but I'm attacked by numerous gang stalkers. So when I get a call from you, Pitoro, I don't know if it's some guy named Lot Lizard pretending to be you. And I don't know if he's going to, spring the old N-word on me at any given time. So Skype is insecure, and it's not certainly secure for people to go Skype to Skype among friends because you can see your IP address and get DDoSed. So Skype has got a lot of security issues to still get past. They claim if you don't add a person to your contact list that they can't see you and your IP address. Well, how do you use Skype unless you add them to your contact list? I mean, hello? What a jerk. Well, I can tell you, if I took this article right now and emailed it to someone I know and said, hey, I thought you discovered Jimi Hendrix, he'd be pissed off. I might just do it. I might just do it. Yeah, people who use Skype. I've been looking for those Skype minute cards at all the big box stores. Walmart doesn't have them. Nobody has them except Best Buy. You go to the back of an aisle and look up and you see all these Skype cards sitting there. Nobody grabs them. You use Skype. I know. You're the only one who grabs them. Well, maybe we could open up a Skype call once I set up my system through a VPN and have an undisclosed channel and send you a link right away. But it's just a matter of time before the link is contaminated. We get about 15 people claiming that they're gay and they want to have sex with you or me. It won't be very long before we get our whole show turns into kind of a Backstreet Boys / Boys in the Band kind of thing. I'm not impressed with Skype ever since they got bought out by Microsoft. What is it about Microsoft? They touch everything they touch turns to like stone and then withers away. Whatever. Well, it's kind of nice having a show that doesn't really deal with tough issues. Right now, they're having a tough issue. Duterte is having a terrible problem with the Canadian trash. Duterte, the president of the Philippines, Duterte. I know you can. We'll talk about that some other time, Pitoro. Look at Canada working to resolve misdeclared trash.
Been in progress. Marisal Halili with the story.
I cannot understand why they're making us a dump site. And that is not the only case in point. Papasunod-sunod yan na pinapadala yung basura sa atin. Well, not at this time. Magkaaway kami na diyan, why natin ang Canada? Will declare war against them. Kaya man natin yan sila.
From 2013 to 2014, more than 100 containers declared as recyclable scrap plastics were sent by a Canadian company to the Philippines. The shipment turned out to be falsely labeled and contained plastic bottles, used adult diapers, and other waste materials. 6 years have passed, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has already visited the Philippines twice, but nothing has happened.
I want a boat prepared. I'll give a warning to Canada maybe next week.
Okay, so, Duterte is not asking too much, really. He just wants the turds and the garbage removed from the shores. Just like anyone would want their clean, Manila Bay is a disaster, and he's definitely got an issue. So if I were Trudeau, I would scamper over there and get some trucks to, actually some boats that handle this. The type of boats would be, I guess, tugboats to pull the barges back to Canada and then dump them right in the pristine waters of British Columbia. Just an idea. Because if you think you're going to get away with using pollution, plastics, garbage, Ajax, Comet in your drink, in your all these toxic chemicals, bleach, you name it. If you think you're going to get away with this and not be affected, think again. Yeah, we are all definitely chemically contaminated right now. Some people are a little bit more than others, and you can see it in their eyes. They're on some sort of an internal drug. I'm not sure what it is. I think the drug is called greed. You know? Greed. It's taking over the world, and people like Ocasio, man, she's just off a rocker. You know what she said today? That our veterans, that our VAs are actually in good shape. There's no problems with the VA. It's just a bunch of propaganda. The Veterans Administration buildings are a disaster. The hospitals have waiting lines a mile long. You have to get there at the wee hours of the morning to be seen afternoon. It's just insane that this woman thinks that she can just spout off left and right, get nothing but free coverage, while I've been doing this for 10 years and I don't even get 1 second of media time in America. Duterte gets more media time.
That they better pull that thing out, or I will set sail doon sa Canada. Ibuhos ko yung basura nila doon. Yung iba mga 5 truck, buhos mo dyan sa Canadian Embassy.
They like that. He's going to declare war on Canada. Yeah. I'm amazed he didn't call Trudeau gay. You know, a lot of things. This man, Duterte, he does lots of things to, you know, set himself off from other people. He said there was no God. There's no proof that there's a God. Yeah, he makes statements like that. His people are the devout Catholics. They just still put up with it. They just don't want their Catholic daughters called into service to kill off the drug dealers. He's training Catholic girls to pull 22s on the backs of the heads of drug dealers. So they go to church their whole life, do catechism, communion, take their daily Eucharist, and then he tells them to go kill people because he doesn't believe in God, and they still like Duterte. All right, so Jim Morrison for the win, and congratulations to Larry King. He's still alive, not dead after all these years. Well, yeah. Oh, that's not Larry King. That's somebody else. I forget his name. Right on. Okay, I've uncovered something really interesting. There's a conspiracy to taint marijuana. As you know, I support legalization of marijuana. And if I were in charge right now, this country would be allowed to recreationally access marijuana and even grow it for personal use or sell it if you pay a 10% tax. Welcome to America. And welcome to ATP. So we are looking at a possibility that marijuana is being affected by this fungicide. Now, I discovered something that's very interesting. There is a fungicide that is being used on crops. Typically grapes use it. And now marijuana producers are using it left and right. And what happens is when it burns, it turns into cyanide. So people start vomiting. Yeah, it's terrible. It's a particular drug. It's a particular fungicide called myclobutanol. Yeah, myclobutanol. And it is something that could trigger vomiting. I wish I could blow it up for you. Let me see if I can enlarge the screen somewhat. Yeah, legal weed isn't necessarily clean weed, so there's kind of a conspiracy to taint it, and I understand in New York when they started legalizing it, some of the weed has got fentanyl in it, so you can OD on it. It's like, what the hell, man? So if they don't get a standardization of growing practices for marijuana in this country, we're in trouble. Our president is so backward, he doesn't even understand the need for recreational marijuana. And I can tell you that this simple fact that myclobutanol could very well kill people is something that has to be addressed rather soon. There's other things that the president isn't doing that I would do immediately, and that is put a public service announcement warning of the dangers of cell phones and cordless phones next to your head. When you're using them, if you hold them next to your head, they do emit low-level electromagnetic frequency wave radiation. And that can affect your cells in your head. And there is solid evidence to suggest that these cell phones and cordless phones can contribute to brain cancer. Seriously. So the fact that Trump hasn't put a public service announcement of dangers of cell phones, but instead endorses the 5G network, is part of the reason why Trump is the worst president we've ever had. 5G network is filled with potential dangers, and it's not going to get any easier anytime soon. Electricity isn't safe. It's not something you can stick in your head and just go, oh yeah, sure. You can have alternate universes created around you. DNA can alter. Your metastasis of your brain tumors kick in. Lots of weird things happen. Like this. You don't know what's going to happen to your brain. Use speakerphone. That's right. Always use speakerphone and hold it away from your body. Tell your kids to go in the closet and talk to their friends if they want privacy, but hold it away from your body. And especially children should not use cell phones next to their head before they go to bed. It's really bad. They've studied the sleep patterns of children. They get no REM cycles at all. That's why they can't learn in school. Now we've got a new development. Trump is so desperate to hide his loans that he owes Deutsche Bank $1 billion. And they're looking to block everywhere the Democrats turn to find out the truth about his records.
Learned late today that Deutsche Bank, a bank that did millions of dollars of business with Donald Trump over the years, has begun providing financial records to the New York State Attorney General's office. The bank's cooperation is in response to subpoenas issued for the documents, and those records are part of what President Trump has said he considers his red line. David, how significant is it that Deutsche Bank is handing over these documents? I mean, and also, do we know, is this the full, is this all the documents they have, or is just some documents?
Well, first of all, it is significant. This is the first step in what's going to be a long process, not just with the New York Attorney General, but also with congressional investigators who are really prying into everything they can about Deutsche Bank and its relationship with Donald Trump. And the bottom line is we do not know exactly what they are handing over. The New York Attorney General and the congressional investigators have subpoenaed actually different things. And so what is being handed over now to New York is stuff related to the handful of loans or loan requests that the bank did with Trump over the past 6 or 7 years before he got elected. And
it's ridiculous that Trump is stonewalling this. Remember when he said that, oh, I'd gladly show you my tax returns for the past 10 years, no problem. Apparently it is a big problem, and Trump is using every means possible to hide the telltale evidence of Russian oligarchs buying his properties for double their value. Classic money laundering. Yeah, and that's why Mueller didn't investigate Manafort in the second trial, because he doesn't want anyone, Trump doesn't want anyone to know. Mueller's protecting Trump. Trump doesn't want anyone to know that he made tons of money on Russian oligarchs in a 10-year period, selling real estate at way overpriced. Even Cindy Yang, the lady, former massage parlor owner who invested $30 million in Donald Trump at a key time when he first started the presidency. It was announced that Cindy Yang was offering people access to the president. That's still going on, believe it or not. Cindy Yang is still in play as getting pay-for-play access to the president after giving him $30 million when no one else, including Deutsche Bank, didn't want to give him. No one else wanted to give him any money when he first started the presidency. And this guy's got a $30 million nut interest payment to make every month. I'm not kidding. Trump owes combined $2.3 billion. It's a complete lie that he's a multi-billionaire. He may have $3 billion in assets if you spread across all his properties and liquidate them. But honestly, he never had $10 billion. He completely lied. We're seeing almost an overwhelming number of lies coming at us from Trump. And it's like the American people are frozen with shock and no one can do anything. It's like we were almost unmovable because this guy loves to spread lies, rumors, and deny everything. Shabbat shooting, they're going to be looking at the new synagogue shooting in San Diego. Jefferson Girl's going to take a look at it. Let's take a look at that. Shabbat shooting hoax coincidences. Wow. So we got that coming up in our lineup tonight. She always does this intro. I like it. And she uses disclaimers too. That's kind of smart. Let's review the coincidences they found in the Shabbat shootings.
Rabbi, you said that you asked the claim to hold.
In the past, is that true?
What was that?
Our understanding is that your congregation had trained for active shooting scenarios. Is that true?
Well, the city of Poway had a conference that I attended, many members of our congregation, where they were talking about the active shooters, how to deal with
And
it.
how did that help you yesterday?
Tremendously, because they evacuated so well.
I bet they did. Yeah, you know, the interesting thing about the San Diego Shabbat shooting and the previous one, the Tree of Life Shabbat shooting in, I believe, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is they always have the shooter always dies. There's never any pictures of bodies. And they're usually in debt prior to this. Like Shabbat, the Shabbat of the Tree of Life synagogue had been in a big lawsuit over Mordecai Rosenberg being sued over cutting a boy's penis off during a circumcision. Mordecai Rosenberg had to deal with a lot of legal issues, and that's what happened prior to the synagogue shooting at Tree of Life. So you got to wonder if this one had financial problems, and that's why they love the GoFundMe money, because it's untraceable. And the government loves to throw GoFundMe money at people because there's no way you can look back and say, yeah, the government's funding this guy, because it can come from any number of undisclosed sources. There's a picture of a missing finger, really? I'll have to look at that. The heart of a Russian enclave of New York beats strong for Donald Trump. This is the Chabad Leibovich group, and I'm the guy that's been exposing this group for some time, and it's finally getting some airplay. The Zionist movement pretty much got its hooks in Donald about 20 years ago when Trump needed money. This has a story about how the oligarchs have funded this group. Russian-speaking community. Okay. Goes into the depth. Trump's apparently warm relations with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Trump called on Russian hackers to find Democratic challenger Hillary Clinton's missing emails. And then, of course, Trump turned on the WikiLeaks group recently when they did find those emails or had something to do with it. Yeah, I'll have to look into this a little bit later. It's pretty in-depth. Okay. Sri Lanka bingo.
We begin with that devastating story from Sri Lanka. More than 200 people have been killed and hundreds of others have been wounded in a series of 8 separate explosions. The bombings hit churches and hotels across the country.
Okay, this is Phony Fake Show of Austin, Texas, Sri Lanka bingo. All kinds of disparities have come up with the recent Sri Lanka situation. Again, it's right out of the same playbook of all the other events that have been happening. Whether people die or not, you rarely ever see any funerals, and when you do, they're always not open casket. And this probably is going to be another reveal. The interesting thing that Scissor Fight brought up was that all the chandeliers in those videos that we saw of the bombing in Sri Lanka, the 7 separate backpack bombers blowing up all these different churches. All the chandeliers were in mint condition. And he made a very good point, Scissorfy did. I mean, how can you have a bombing when the chandeliers all have glass perfectly holding the lights? So the Sri Lanka bans face veils under emergency law, warns of more attacks? Question mark. Are they pushing for gun control in Sri Lanka? The Tamil Tigers didn't take responsibility for this. An ISIS group unknown to anyone in the region is now taking responsibility, and it's like somebody manufactured this group out of the CIA art department. Sri Lanka bans face veils under emergency law. Huh. So the country's top body of Islamic scholars agrees with the edict as long as it's temporary. So if you're wearing a face veil and you're walking into a church, chances are you're disguising your identity so that you could veritably blow it up. So nobody trusts anybody with face veils. Well, in some cities, like in Dearborn, Michigan, there are women that are taking their photographs of their driver's license picture for their ID with face veils on. Yeah. The Muslim community is allowed to do this. I know, it's kind of amazing. Yeah, apparently they can go and do their driver's license with face veils on, which is kind of hard to believe. Here's a motor vehicle registration in New Jersey of a woman, Fatima. Well, let me just put it over here so you won't see her whole address. Look at that. Her name is Fatima Aisha. And she lives in New Jersey, and this is her face. Ma'am, could you please pull over? I see you have your face veil on. Ma'am, could I see your eyes? Okay, same exact slit. Definitely you. No way you could fake that, ma'am. That slit's very identifiable. We can definitely see you have eyes under there just like any other person. In America, women can walk up to the airports in full face veil and nobody seems to bother them at the airport. In fact, I think they have a pass. They can go right into the plane. They don't even need to be swashed with metal detectors. That's how stupid our country is. Now, don't quote me on that because, you know, if you're going to the airport hoping to evade being, rapid scanned or forced to take your shoes off, it's best not to go in with full burqa and face veil. I've never known a woman named Muffy, no. I had a friend whose wife he called Poopsie Whoopsie. I'm glad I don't have him as a friend anymore because it was the most ridiculous made-up marriage I've ever seen in my life. This Russian immigrant had this poor guy convinced that she loved him, and he called her Poopsie Whoopsie, and they got married, and she divorced him within 2 days, and kept U.S. citizenship. Well, why are you people so against the hijab? It's the #1 way to avoid facial recognition. Well, if they are going with the hijab, I guess the whole country could look like Muslims and we'd all be, perfectly fine going to the airport. I just think this is ridiculous. Everyone should be required to show their face on their ID. I mean, what's wrong with our brain that we're allowing this? Trump doesn't want to stop Muslims from taking over our country. I mean, if he did, he would probably prosecute Omar. Ilhan Omar has, there's more than enough evidence that she may have married her brother in order to make him a U.S. citizen. That's completely illegal. I mean, yet Trump hasn't prosecuted her. He hasn't prosecuted Clinton. He hasn't prosecuted anybody. I mean, so don't kid yourself. This whole BS about QAnon is coming out of the CIA art department again, trying to paint Trump as some sort of a champion of freedom and rights, stopping the deep state. That's a total lie. He's keeping her around because they need that conflict. The powers that be love this banter back and forth between Christians and Muslims and Jews. They love division. They're Zionists. That's why they are Zionists. They love division. They love to separate people. Prior to Zionism in the 1890s, The Torah is very specific not to prejudice Muslims. There was not a hostile environment prior to the 1890s, but most of us don't remember that, do we? Not a lot of you are older than me, I assure you. The oldest man in the world probably would remember that. Yes. I don't know who the oldest man in the world is currently, but I can tell you, yeah, this man right here hasn't had a bowel movement in 12 years, but he's still doing well. Yeah. Every morning he hopes for that big moment, the big success. But you know, if you don't eat, you don't defecate. So. Someday I hope to actually go to the bathroom. Sorry. It's like, whatever. Yes, 50 years from now, I will be the oldest. And I plan on living to be 200 years old. So the only thing is it gets kind of warm in my full body bulletproof vest. Yeah. Well, I guess I am kind of young looking considering I don't age. I think the secret to not aging is to think in ways that most people can't. Here's a man who has had an IQ lower than mine. His name was Albert Einstein. And look how he aged. You know, his IQ wasn't that high. Well, who would claim he was smart when he created a way in which we could destroy the world 50 times over? I mean, that's not too smart, is it? And coming up with a theory that he himself couldn't prove is even more of a challenge. He never showed the scientific proof behind his legendary theory of relativity. Some people say he was a babbling idiot. I'm going to go with just a guy who just didn't do the right thing in life. Anyway, he'll be joining Satan. I'm sure he's already there, having created the worst possible weapons on earth with his ideas. Yes, the sun age makes you age badly. I know. Well, I'm using all kinds of protection to prevent aging. Living in a hyperbaric chamber has been one of my secrets. I only come out to do the show. My hyperbaric isolation tank is a beautiful place for me to tune out of all the problems and stresses of the day. And I receive most of my news through osmosis. Of course, I use protection. Was the Notre Dame fire done on purpose? Ooh, that's an interesting one. We got another one from Scissor Fight. Thank you.
We begin with that devastating story from Sri Lanka. More than...
It's not the same one, is it? That's still the Sri Lanka video. I'm not sure if that's the same one. Yeah, it might be a different one. Former U.S. Education Secretary claims voters are to blame for struggling schools. Talk about passing the buck. Wow. Guy couldn't even take responsibility for poor test scores. What a jerk. We'll have 15 minutes of him talking about deferring all blame to the voters.
Early childhood education, we ranked 30th in providing access. We should be ashamed of that. Math and reading scores usually 15th to 30th. College completion.
Yeah, well, you're to blame for that, buddy. You should never have collected a paycheck, but I'll put that in the lineup. Can you imagine collecting a paycheck, claiming you're going to fix education, and then blaming it on the voters? Now, here's a guy that blames white teachers that are blamed for black student to prison pipeline. He's got 8 minutes. He's going to be talking. His name is Atlantic Blackstar. No, that's dark. Hang on. No pun intended now. There he is. Let's listen a bit to him. We'll have him in the lineup.
You know, I'm not gonna hold you. Teaching is a thankless job. It's a much needed, more teachers are needed. You know what I mean? I think better schools are needed. Better teachers are needed.
Absolutely. And I think a microphone with noise canceling ability which would get out that road noise would be needed as well. But we'll listen to it anyways with a hum, 8 minutes of hum in the background. Good morning. I hope you're feeling well. Welcome to the show and Dave's interactive chat show. I am your host, Dave. I'm not going to go with Sherlock Holmes in the case of the shy ballerina tonight. Hey, you have a playlist for me? Oh, a whole series of spot-on bids you put together for me. Okay. Wow. A guitar out of 8 mega Jawbreaker candies. Putin put out. Okay. Chinese sperm collecting machine goes viral online. Oh, that sounds like fun. Well, let me just get this straight. This is a sperm collecting machine that they offer in China to collect sperm samples. Now, how does this work exactly? Okay, so it's an elaborate glory hole. Gotcha. That sounds like a really good lineup there. Yeah, I'm glad you got all laid out for me, the playlist. How could I lose? Thank you very much, I guess. And here's the story, the meeting with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, Trump's handler. Thank you. Yeah, Trump's handler is Vladimir Putin, now that Trump, is in the clutches of Russia's control. And Putin apparently met with Kim Jong-un, and every detail had to be perfect, but apparently Kim Jong-un tried the bread and salt traditionally offered to guests in Russia. Huh. We'll watch this later tonight, but the illustrious leader and supreme being who likes to get, really fat is eating some bread. I'll be darned, look at that. He normally has his taste tester eat everything like Stalin did. Very good, Kim Jong-un, you're advancing. Yes, President Putin is in charge of our country now. It's pretty obvious. Okay, that's really, really interesting. Okay, we're looking a little bit deeper. Really sad news that Woodstock 50 has been canceled. Yeah, it really bums me out. I was so expecting to go there this summer. Now I'm going to be stuck going somewhere else. Oh well. Definitely not Burning Man. Yes, I believe that Mr. Trump is doing exactly what Mr. Putin has designated he is allowed to do. Very good. Now there's a new look to human beings, and it's the mulatto look. And scientists have predicted what the average American will look like in 2022, and it's beautiful. Isn't that great? Look at that. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. You notice the plastic bags that are polluting the earth hanging in the background with the word co-op on it? Yeah. Well, I'm glad that somebody's beautiful. Everything is beautiful. And this story came in earlier. Just recapping, the Jamal Khashoggi key guy has been found dead. Alleged spy tied to Jamal Khashoggi killing found dead in prison. An alleged spy for the United Arab Emirates dead in Turkish prison cell. Prison wardens found the man hanged inside a solitary cell in Istanbul. Huh. He died by suicide? I don't think so. Authorities in Turkey were investigating Hassan and another man in connection with the Khashoggi's killing last October. Prince MBS Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia has killed 11 people. Excuse me, killed 4 people, incarcerated 11 people. That man was probably one of them. All right, I guess we're not going to find out anything about Jamal Khashoggi anytime soon. Yeah, I'll get that later. The Andy Griffith Show. Mayberry RFID. Hey, wouldn't that be great? Hey, Opie. Have you had your RFID chip installed? No, Dad, I haven't. Mayberry RFID. Coming to your neighborhood herd inoculation center any day now. Oh, Kim Jong-un is a Mason. This is very interesting.
Good morning on this Monday.
Good morning, Joe Co-Flyer. You're going to talk about your story here. Kim Jong-un is a Mason. This is interesting. I can't wait to find out more about that. Makes sense. It looks like they've got him under their control. The New World Order owns Kim Jong-un. Thank you, Scissor Fight. Great to know. There was always that big question, is Kim Jong-un working for the rich oligarchs, you know? Because even the formation of the nation of North Korea happened almost as a result of people fleeing the Japanese financial ruin after World War II. Some people believe that wealthy Japanese businessmen created North Korea. Yeah. That's a very interesting conspiracy theory. But who knows? Either way, you'd think that they would get along better with Japan and not threaten, to fire missiles off their bow, if that were the case. Ah, yes. We'll be discussing toilets in our Wednesday show. Wasteful Wednesday deals with the toilet issue. Like I was saying about the poop all over San Francisco is out of control. They spent $750,000 cleaning it up last year. In 1 year, they could easily build bathrooms for that price. It's like the Democrats don't know what common sense is. Now, the Pope is now funding the caravans that are going to get closer to the border and constantly upset our illegal immigration issue. This story is coming in from Handy Mayhem.
What's good, people? Uncle Hotep back at it again. Pope sends aid to migrants stranded at the U.S. border.
This is Uncle Hood. Okay. That's kind of an interesting name, Uncle Hood. So he'll be giving some airtime tonight on how the Pope is sending $500,000 in aid to illegals to mess with us, mess with Mr. Trump. That's what I'm thinking is going on. Okay. Right on. And again, of course, we all should fear the new terrorist leader, according to the AP and everybody else. The new Osama bin Laden has been born out of the art department of the CIA.
Is believed by intelligence sites to be him, was last seen, Baghdadi, in fact, when he gave a video 5 years ago in the Al-Nouri Mosque in Mosul. That was a defining video. This is another defining one now, and it's expected that this certainly will be a rallying cry for his followers. He talks about the Crusaders. He talked.
See what I mean? They're doing the same damn thing they did with Osama bin Laden, right out of the playbook of the Illuminati, fomenting war and the reasons for war. Check this out. San Francisco has a poop patrol to deal with this feces problem, and the workers make more than $184,000 a year in salary and benefits. And Misanthropy said, I'd pick up shit for $184,000 a year. How do I apply? I believe it. Well, you have to have a real smeller for crap. We featured a guy last week who works in the bowels of the New York sewer system, and he said that there's massive piles of like gross grease and hair and gobbles, and this guy does it without a mask on. He said you grow used to it. Yeah. So apparently there's job opportunities for people that like dealing with shit. Congratulations, San Francisco. You're overpaying your workers and you're not solving the problem. Typical Democrat. God, can you believe that? The Arabs do not do so much good toilets. Yes, toilets are a hole in the ground. If you took a standard water drilling mechanism, like a Troy-Bilt water driller. Troy-Bilt makes a water driller system. Yeah, it's a portable unit. It's pretty impressive. You could literally drill a hole in the ground. That would be a. I'll show you. This is a standard unit. They're pretty affordable. You could literally drill a hole in the ground that's, say, this big, this wide, and go straight down, right? We're talking 100, 200 feet. It would take months for even bag people to fill that up. It would. Thinking about it. Yeah, just lots of holes in the ground and porta toilets over each one. It's an idea. No one would fall into it because it's too, you couldn't really fit into it. Oh, you only get $71,000 a year, but the benefits equal. You get all the crap you could possibly eat. Talk about taking crap from your boss. Exactly. Glad to hear that. You can reuse your water bottles. I would recommend going to all glass. That's what I've been doing. I don't drink water out of plastic because of microplastics and the dangers of microplastics. They did a study and they found out that every single bottle of water on average has about 200 to 300 little bits of microplastic in the water that we drink. Isn't that nice? Yeah, every bottle has like 200 to 300 little pieces, teeny pieces of microplastic. I better comb this down. It's looking a little bit too ridgy in the back. Somebody said, Dave, your hair looks like somebody's butt. Yeah, I know. Poisoning you with microplastic, yeah. I'm just glad I'm not in need of coronary bypass surgery. This guy had a coronary bypass, I think, about 15 years ago. Larry King live. And luckily he's still alive. They gave him angioplasty to keep him going. Probably put a stent in there. Yeah, I mean, he had bypass surgery and he survived it and he's still going. And apparently they're just unclogging him as he goes. That's kind of nice. So if you're worried about the measles epidemic, and it's really not an epidemic, that's just a lot of BS they're pushing on America. Most of it's coming from illegal aliens. And frankly, very few people in America have ever died of measles. It's mostly due to bad healthcare conditions that you die of pneumonia after the measles. But I am offering, when I become president, free masks for everybody in America, face masks. 3M makes them. So we're going to offer a whole series of face masks for people like this N95 mask. And we'll put envelopes together that will have automatic reorder forms in them. So you'll postage free. You just slip a check in the mail to Uncle Sam, and we'll send you more masks. We'll try to get a recurring order form going for more masks, and we'll initially give you the 5 for a family of 5. And this is the type of protection that will help in the event of a disaster like a pandemic. Whereas a herd inoculation doesn't necessarily guarantee safety either. This will prevent the spread of disease. And this is common sense, folks. This is something I would come up with. Yes, and I think we talked about the Boeing downing all the Southwest jets. Yeah, apparently Southwest got the memo that they downed all their MAX 8 jets. They're claiming, Boeing is claiming that it's been human error, not their error, that their software was perfectly fine. But the truth of the matter is, I think Boeing should apologize to the families of 346 souls that lost on board the downed 737 jets from Indonesia and Ethiopia. 346 people have died because of a software glitch that is related directly to Boeing. Boeing didn't tell Indonesia that they didn't package those planes with the necessary safety safeguard that they had allegedly put in them. And those Indonesian planes were not told that they didn't have a flashing light that alerts them to the planes making aberrant movements with the nose. I personally think that Boeing blew it with the 737 MAX. I believe that they put the engine too far forward. But everyone says, oh, Dave, yeah, what do you know about airplane design? I mean, you don't know nothing, man. You don't know nothing. Well, I can tell you one thing, that the jet on this plane is so front forward, it's putting weight on the front of the plane. I mean, any idiot would tell you that that is a recipe for disaster. Oh, but no, that's none of their fault. They don't want to bear any blame. It's like, yeah, right, sure. It's topsy-turvy. It's tipping forward. It's definitely front-heavy. It's absurd to think that this plane isn't front-heavy. Look at the design. I mean, hello? What were they thinking? God. You think it's going to be a hate crime to discriminate against anybody with HIV or STDs like herpes or chlamydia or syphilis? You know, if the Democrats continue their role of political correctness, because Trump is so far off to the right, it could scare people just to vote left. They could initiate hate crimes against anybody using bad words, like the F word. That could be a hate crime. Well, Boeing stocks have had a tremendous amount of buoyancy, and the stock has got tremendous amount of power going behind it. But look at the recent drop of 1.77. You can't dispute that it's on a kind of a slow ascent down. Look at the initial stock interest early on, and then and then the company made the announcement that they're not at fault, and then without even any admission of guilt, you're seeing it tank. Look at that. I think it'd be in best interest of Boeing to admit guilt, pay out a settlement to the people that died, and start to develop a bond between their suppliers, their vendors, and their clients that buy these things. Well, they clearly are at fault. Boeing should never have sold planes without a necessary safety feature that was an add-on, and now they're going to give it to people for free. I mean, hello, that's ridiculous. The Border Patrol is releasing illegal aliens in Tucson. You know, that's the mayor Rothschild runs that operation. I guess he's part of the plan to break our country up, and Trump's going right along with it, dumping people in sanctuary cities across the nation. Well, Hot Rails, that's the opposite of what was happening. Most people who can't afford kids are having them, and the government has to foot the bill. Let's listen to this woman talk about it.
To try to get a sense of what you can do to help improve conditions for these migrants who are coming to the United States. What did you learn, and where can you go from here?
So I learned a lot. First, I was able to go down and actually visit some of the border ports of entry and meet with our law enforcement agents last week. So I learned about the capacity issues, the timing issues, and they really are overwhelmed with the influx of migrants seeking asylum. My goal in the meeting today was to help NGOs at a statewide level and our Border Patrol and ICE and Customs and Border Protection officers figure out how to best connect with each other to have the handoff of migrant families into the community so they can be helped by our NGOs and then ultimately united with family members or...
Oh, please. What are you, some sort of a bleeding heart liberal? What the hell, you know? This is why we've got illegal immigration problems, because of these liberals in key positions. I mean, we shouldn't be integrating illegals into our society. We should make it almost impossible for them to keep a job here. Yeah. Anyway, she has the right to speak her mind. I support that. I don't know. She looked like a woman who, well, I mean, frankly, she looks like me. You know, let's face it. Well, you look at her face and you realize, well, there's something very similar to your face, Dave. I mean, think about it. You could be her in another world, in a transgender world. That's exactly what you would look like. Bleach blonde. Just take a look at that. I just think that we should give all the help we can to all the people that are there. And I strongly support the idea of giving everyone extra money, even for illegal aliens that are coming into the country, and just give them fresh bills, lots of them. I don't know, I just don't like the liberal mentality of allowing illegals to come in like Donald Trump is doing. Donald Trump, as you know, is pretty much a liberal. Let's face it, we talked about how he really is kind of a Democrat earlier. Just to recap. Oh my gosh, I went overtime.
Shocked if I said that in many cases I probably identify more as a Democrat.
Okay, there you go. So you Republicans who are listening to Donald Trump are going to hear him declare that he really is a Democrat. And you got a flip-flopper as your president. Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
Jesus' parents' name.
Wow, 54 minutes of Jay Leno asking people questions that they should answer and showing how stupid the world is. Jay Leno. Right on. I mean, hey, why not? It still works for me. Works for me!
Mary and Joseph.
Very good. And approximately how many years ago did he live?
Oh, gosh. 250 million years ago.
Whoa, this looks like fun. Jay Leno is delivering a message. America is dumbed down. Thank you, Jay. You got it, everybody. Thank you, that one guest. Thanks for coming in, and thank you guys for being participants. Metanemesis is chatting tonight. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to segue to our evening of videos we do every night, 4 hours of videos. Always good, always informative, always better than the mainstream media, in my opinion. Always revealing the truth in a way that would kind of shock all of us. Okay, I will be seeing you another time, as in tomorrow, for Truth Tuesday at 5 o'clock. You got it. Thank you for the Larry video. You got it. I try to deliver Larry videos whenever I can. Larry Sinclair, yeah. I'll be a little bit more cognizant of your needs in the future. Signing off, Mr. Right. Take care. Good night.
Mr. Right, Mr. Right, too good to be true. Spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I find. If you sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat. 'Cause you make me melt away. Mr. Right, too good. Just spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I find. You sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat. 'Cause you make me melt away. My feet, my heart stops to beat. 'Cause you make me melt away. You're Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good.